Hey everyone, Egman here with another video, and we've got a doozy of a video today. Bandai reached out to me and they dubbed me a valued community content creator for their game, and they gave me all of the green cards from the new draft box to reveal to all you guys. So I'm really excited for this. Not only do I like green cards in general, but just being able to reveal them and show everyone first is huge for me. It really means that all the hard work I've put in the last couple of years has really paid off, but it also shows just how much support you guys have given me during that time as well. I wouldn't be here without you guys, and stay tuned. I hope to have some kind of giveaway for you guys as well, just to really celebrate this huge accomplishment and everything else that's been going on for me. So without further ado, let's get into these cards. Alright, we're going to start with the commons and move our way up to the super rares. So to start off with the commons, we have the vanillas, the 1k, or 1 drop, 2 drop, and 3 drop with 10k, 20k, and 30k respectively. Nothing too special with these because these are something that get printed every set and kind of help out all the kind of vanilla stuff they're pushing, and might have some other cards later in this video. But something to note, I'd say, is this Trunks is a 10k, which means that he can be union fused with Gotenks. Go-10s that are also 10Ks. So that's something to note, and it's vanilla as well, so there could be some flexibility with that as well. And then also 20K Son Gohan. I don't think this one's super popular, but the Son Goku could also have some potential as well. Green, the Goku tag's really important, and 30K as well. So I know that we have this for like other colors for Goku, but I think there could be some potential for him coming up as well. So just those are vanillas, and going into our first effect battle card, we've got Son Goten Boundless Curiosity. Choose up to 2 cards in your hand, discard them. When this card is played, draw cards equal to your number of cards you discard with the skill. So it's a 2 drop for 15k. So I think this one's actually kind of mildly good in the sense that if you're running like a Union Fusion deck already, this could be like a 1 or 2 of, and then you could play it on turn 2 if you need to cycle your hand or get some new cards. Especially since like you can drop some of the cards from the archetype into your drop by your area and then get them back to your hand for kind of free. So it's just kind of good cycle. 2 cost is a little steep for it, but it is 15k, so that's fine. This card's also searchable with Hercule from the anniversary box and that kind of stuff, so I think this card's fine. The Son Goten name's pretty good, and 15k, so it reaches kind of like the standard 15k package for it, and I think it's not too bad. Also, you discard the cards, which means that spoilers, there's going to be a lot of this for these cards moving up, but if you have the Beerus, this card came out a while ago, but essentially if it says that if this card is discarded by a battle card, you can play it for free. And so being able to play this card is one of those cards that can enable it, and so it's just free value, which is really, really good. So essentially you draw 2, you discard 1, draw 2, and you play a 15k for free. So I think that's really worth it. Spoilers, there's going to be more of those cards coming up, but I think that's a really strong interaction just in general if you're playing any of these green cards. Next up, we've got Trunks, wielder of the legendary blade. So this is also 15k, so both these guys can be union fused together. So dual attack: when this card is played from your hand, draw 1 card, and then choose 1 card from your hand, discard it. When this card is KO'd by your opponent's skill, return this card from your drop area to your hand. So it's alright, 15k dual attack, which is okay, and you get to draw 1, which is also okay. I don't think this card will activate Beerus just because it activates in the drop area, and if I remember correctly, that means that it doesn't count as a battle card in the drop area. I could be wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is. Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. But this wouldn't proc Beerus, but I think this is just like an okay card as well. If you want to put it in your Union Fusion deck as like a 1 of or something, in the case where a 15k dual attack could be really valuable, I could see that. Just once again, because these cards are so there's so much cycle and searching and finding for these cards, it's really easy just to get this guy into your hand and play him if you need him or you find a situation where he's really good. So I think he's fine, and I don't really have anything else to say about him. We also have another Trunks. This is a 10k, so we've got 2 10k Trunks youth. But counterplay, play this card, and if the battle card being played has any cost of 2 or less, is placed in its owner's drop area instead of being played. This card's alright. It's definitely a lot better going first than going second, because you can start turn 2 with 2 energy open, and then when your opponent plays something, you can just do 2 energy. It's also not restricted to a green leader, which is okay, and it only has 1 specific green cost as well, so that could help you being a little bit flexible. 2 or less is kind of a weird spot though. I'd say like 3 or less is kind of like the good curve for it, especially if you're able to like gain +1 card advantage, like +1 energy advantage for it, I guess. that kind of be the dream. And once again, going second with this card kind of stinks a little bit, just because your opponent can just play something for 3 on turn 3, and you kind of miss your chance to play this guy. But I think he's fine. And once again, since he's Strength Youth, he's searchable, and so if you need to find him for any Union fusions with 10k Gotens or anything like that, that's a big possibility. Next, we've got Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks Full Throttle. So this is Double Strike Union Fusion for 3 green on a Sun Goten and Trunks Youth. And then also when this card is played, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. I think this is like almost good. I think one of these things have to change. Either it has to have like Deflect or Barrier if it had Union Fusion of 2 green instead of 3, or if it got around Barrier. I think one of those 3 things would have made this card a little bit more playable. But it is a common card, and also it's not restricted to the Gotenks leader, which is also kind of important. So I don't think this is a bad card. I think in the the green Gotenks leader kind of deck that we've seen, this card won't find its place. But I think it can find its place in other builds where you're using a leader that's not one, where you can be more flexible with that kind of stuff. So I think he's okay, but I don't think he's great. I don't think he's pushing the edge quite yet. Next up, we've got another Gotenks Reckless ability. So it has auto when this card is played. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle card at any cost of 3 or less and KO it. So I think this is fine. It's kind of like the opposite of like this one. Yeah, this Trunks, where this is counterplay as well. But you're able to use 2 energy to get rid of 3 energy of your opponent's cards. So I think that's fine. It doesn't get around Barrier, which kind of stinks. And I can't remember how searchable Gotenks as a name is, but I think he's okay as a card. Definitely in kind of like a draft format. I think this card is really good, especially because it's only one specific green and everything. And more constructed, I think there might be slightly better options than him, but I don't think his effect is bad in any way. Next up, we've got Tapion. Ooh, are we getting some Hirudegarn stuff? Yes, we are. So it's Tapion, Hero of Legend, has Deflect. It's a big 3-drop 20k with only 1 specific green, which is kind of weird. Normally they have 2 specific green for a big 20k like this, but when this card is played out to 1 Hirudegarn, Minosha, or Hoi card from your deck to your hand, then shuffle your deck. And also you can choose 1 card in your hand, discard it, which is a Beerus trigger. When your opponent combos, you may place 1 card from their combo area and their drop area, and if you do, negate the skill for the turn. So that's pretty dang good. You have to go like 1 for 1 for it. And this is a 3-drop to get out, so it's kind of expensive to do so, but there may be a way to get it out a little bit easier moving forward. It's also Tapion, so if you're playing like the chain from Colossal Warfare for Hirudegarn, you need 1 Tapion in your drop area to kind of go off with it. So this can be a potential name for that as well, and it's green, so if you need to make like a blue-green Hirudegarn build, that could be a good card for that as well. So I think this card's fine. Kind of replaces itself, and then you can drop it. So like you can add like a Minosha to your hand, and then you can discard a Minosha, and then if you discard the Minosha, you're able to get like the 2-drop legs from Hirudegarn, so you can go like +1 essentially. So I think there's some combos with this guy, and we'll move to the next one. We've got another Tapion Unsealed Hero. Choose one of your Hirudegarn cards and KO it. At the end of battle, where this card is used in a combo, play this card in rest mode. So this is a good effect. You gotta trust me for this. We'll see why a little bit later. But being able to KO one of your Hirudegarn cards is pretty good. And being able to, and then also, I guess you got to play this card for free. It is in rest mode, which kind of sucks, and it doesn't have blocker. But I mean, you still get a free Tapion out, which is like a free card later. It's better than just having to discard this card. And let's just move on to the next one. We've got Minosha Unsealed Hero. So auto, when this card is removed from your battle area by opponent's skill or KO'd, choose 1. You can choose up to 1 Hirudegarn with any cost of 3 from your deck, or hand play it. Then shuffle your deck if you look through it, and or you can draw 1 card. So you can get, I believe the Hirudegarn, like the legs, is only a 2-drop, so I don't think you can play that, but there might be some 3-drop Hirudegarns we can look at later. And it is a 2-drop 15k as well, so it's really nice to be able to just play this turn 2, swing at your opponent and be kind of aggressive with this card, and then your opponent can't really answer it, or you get card advantage from it. So that's kind of neat. Like, just because it's you can either like draw a card when it's KO'd, or play a body as well. Like, I think both those effects are really good, and so it's super worth just playing this guy and really going from there. So I really like this guy. I think he's good for the Hirudegarn chain that we'll see coming up, and we'll just move on from there. We've got Sealed Music Box. So auto, when you activate this card, look at the top 7 cards from the top of your deck. Up to 1 Hurrigan, Tapion, Minosha, or green Unison card with a specified cost of 1 among them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. There's only one Unison card we can get, which is Demigra, which is still like the best green Unison card in my opinion. And spoilers, there's no, as far as I know, there's no 1-drop green Unisons in this set, at least none that I reveal. So there's nothing yet, but I can definitely see them having a promo coming up in the next kind of couple weeks or months that could have this kind of idea, or maybe the next set. But so I doubt that it will just be Demigra. I bet there will be other cards coming up. But also has this active main of 1 green, plays this card in its owner's drop area, choose up to 1 Tapion or Minosha card, any cost of 3 or less in your hand, and play it. So you can just, for 2 energy, you can play you can play any of these guys, really, right? You can play this Tapion, so you play it for only 2, and especially since this music box kind of replaces itself, which is really good. So you turn 1, you play the music box, and then turn 2, you can go into this Tapion, which means you also have another card in your hand. Both these guys search cards as well, so you don't really lose any card advantage. So you get this out for 2 energy, and you have 1 more energy open on turn 2, and then you can just go from there. You can also just get Minosha, which is also still fine because you'll have 1 more energy open as well. So I think this card's good. Definitely helps the archetype, and yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's also it puts it in its drop area, right? So you can't just keep playing the 1 green. That would be super broken. But I think this definitely helps the early turns of kind of the new kind of green Hurrigan stuff we've got moving on. So next up, we've got Wrath of the Dragon. This is the second to last common card we have. Counterplay: if your layer card is green, if the battle card is being played as any cost 2 or less, it's placed in its owner's drop area instead of being played. Then choose 1 card from your opponent's hand and discard it. I kind of like this card. It really sucks going second, though, because it's hard to get this 2 or less effect going off. But if you compare it to this guy, so they're pretty similar. The difference is this is a battle card, but this card lets you like drop 1 card from your hand. But this also can be comboed and stuff. So I think they're both fine. I wish this is 3 or less. This would be super good at 3 or less. But it also only has 1 specific green energy as well. So there's balances to it. I think 3 or less would have been great, or even if it had an option where it was 2 or less and you just pop it, or 3 or less and you just pop it, or 2 or less and you get the card discard. I think that probably would have made it a little bit more playable and kind of more constructed. But I think as a draft box card, this is really good. Just you can shut down your opponent and plus from it as well, which is usually pretty good. And lastly, we have Crushing Despair. I really like this card. It's kind of simple, and I'm not sure how actually good it is, but it just has this simple effect that if your leader card is green or a Phantom Demon card, you negate the attack, then you may choose 1 card in your hand, discard it if you do draw 1. So just like free cycle, and like as you probably can tell, there's a lot of reasons why you'd want some of your Hurrigan pieces in your drop area anyways. So I think there's good, all this stuff is really good for it, especially like if you think of the original Hurrigan leader, he's really good at like swinging and then discarding only battle cards. So if you need to get some, like if you have like an extra card heavy hand, you can get rid of those cards and like cycle them with Crushing Despair. So I really like it. I think it's a cool card. It's pretty simple and maybe not fantastic, but if you're running an archetype where it's, if you have like a Rebrian in hand or something, right, and you just play this Crushing Despair, you get your Rebrian into your drop area for free, and then you can just go from there. I know you can always combo that card as well, but I think it's all very good. So those are all the commons, and let's move up to the uncommons. To start off the uncommons, we've got a 2 specific cost Unison, Trunks the Last Hope. It has 2 autos. When this card is played, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, any cost 3 or less, and KO it. So that's pretty good for just 2 energy, getting 3 or less. And then also auto once per turn when 1 of your opponent's battle cards is KO'd, add a marker to this card. So the idea is that you pay 2 for this, you play it, you KO something, then you immediately get another token for it, and you kind of go from there. So I think this card is kind of fun in a sense where you can get these tokens on either player's turn. So if you play something like the Counterplay Frieza that came out in set 10, so you have 3 tokens on this, and then your opponent plays something on their turn after this card's played, and then you play Frieza. Frieza KOs something when it comes into play, and so you get another token for this guy. So there's a lot of synergy in that sense. It doesn't have any plus 0 or positive any of these plus skills, but it does have a -4 active main. Choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. I don't feel like the -4 for this is really warranted, unfortunately. I think either if this was like an active battle, or if this chose 1 of your opponent's battle cards ignoring barrier, I think one of those other 2s would have made this -4 worth it, especially since you can't you can definitely get like plus skills inherently for it, but it's just kind of weird where you don't have any like skills you're doing. Like I feel like you're missing an opportunity. There's an opportunity cost of running this guy because you're not using your Unison skill every turn. You have to just kind of wait until it builds up to it. So I think that's the only thing about it. I wish it had like a +0 or +1, even if it was like super minor. Just because I feel like you're a little bit not doing anything with this guy until, like, I mean, you can just play him for 4 and then just KO 2 of your opponent's battle cards. I guess you could play him for 4, KO a battle card, you get another token, and then you KO another card with the -4, so you get to KO 2 cards, and then also you have a 1 token card left, so that's maybe okay. But I think it's all right. But I guess I was wanting a little bit more just for the -4 since it was so kind of hefty of a cost. Next up, we've got Sun Goten Reckless Ability. It has 10k power, which is important for if you want to use any of the 10k trunks that we talked about earlier for Union Fusion. But it has a counterattack, negate the attack, then play this card, then choose any number of your opponent's battle cards at any cost 2 or less. That adds up to a total energy of 3 or less and KO them. If it didn't have this energy cost of 2 or less, I'd say this card's pretty dang good because you can get rid of tokens. But since it says up to 2 or that cost 2 or less, tokens cost nothing, so which is different than 0, which means this card can't KO tokens essentially. But being able to KO 3 cost or less of stuff is pretty good still. So it's all right, especially kind of for just 2 energy all the time. We've got stuff like the Kakunsa that sees play that is a 2 cost, but it can KO like a big thing. But for a negate that blows up stuff, I think this is fine, especially since it has the diversity of being able to be in the Union Fusion Gotenks deck. So you could definitely side 1 or 2 of these, and you can add them to your hand for free, essentially with Gokul and that kind of stuff. So I think he's fine, but I wish he could blow up tokens. That's the only thing I have about him. Next up, we've got Vegeta protecting his loved ones. This is a spicy card for sure. It has barrier and it has auto when this card is played, draw 1, and then auto once per turn. When your opponent switches their energy to active mode using a counter skill, place up to 1 card in your opponent's life and 1 card in your opponent's energy in their drop area. Wowza, definitely. So it's a 1-drop 4K and with barrier, which is moderately easy to get around nowadays. And obviously this is targeting against the blue baby counterplay archetype, which I think is going to be one of the contenders of the better decks that comes up in the next set. So I think it's like this idea to have a way to combat that, because I don't think there's a lot right now that has potential for it. But I do wonder if it's a bit too stark of a way to combat it, because it has barrier, which is kind of tough for blue to remove, and if blue removes it, it goes back to their hand, so you can just play it next turn. And the choice of like 1 card in your opponent's life are in their energy would have been fine, but both 1 life and opponent's energy is kind of rough. I think that's a bit overtuned, but this is also a very specific card for that. I think the other thing about this too is that you can get like Dimension Magic and like Whisa's Coercion. Those cards are also hit by this because it just has to be an active. It switches their energy active mode using a counter skill in general. So it does also hit those cards. So I'm not really sure. Blue's been like kind of powerful in general with those cards for the last couple sets, especially Dimension Magic. Dimension Magic's been relevant ever since it was printed almost 2 years ago. So having a counter to that card I don't think is too terrible. But I do wonder if it's a little bit overtuned. Of course, you have to be playing this card in general, but we'll see how it goes. I'm a bit skeptical, but this could also just do nothing, because if those cards aren't popular, then this card's not popular as well. So it's kind of hard to say, but I guess we'll just kind of see over the next couple of weeks. Next up, we've got our first Hirudegarn card that we're revealing. It's Hirudegarn the Phantom Limbs. Auto when this card is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill or KO, choose 1. You can choose up to 1 Hirudegarn card with any cost of 4 from your deck or hand, play it, then shuffle your deck. If you look through it, or your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand, discards it. So already you can kind of see what the idea for these new Hirudegarn cards are. It's hand destruction, but also it's kind of like the Broly Evolve engine in a lot of ways, where you have this card, and if you get rid of it, you get like a bigger card of it. So you don't really want to get rid of it, but then you also have your own ways to get rid of it. So I think this is fine in a lot of ways, especially you get to go into a 4-drop, which we'll see in a little bit. But as the base chain for it, I think this is a good card to get into the next ones. And once again, your opponent really can't answer this, or if they do, then they get the bigger monster right afterwards. So, and it's from your deck too, deck or hand, which is the best, because if it's just deck or just hand, this card can be a little bit inconsistent. But if it's both, then you don't have to worry about drawing into them, because worst case, you just have to play them from your hand. And playing from your deck is obviously the best. So Let's move on to our next one. We've got Hoi, Hidden Ambition. So auto when this card is played, draw one, and then choose one of your green Huragarn or Minosha cards and KO it. When this card is used in a combo, it gains plus 5k power for the battle. So, or plus 5k combo power for the battle. So this card's fantastic, for sure. You definitely want to run this guy in the archetype because you're able to, for no energy, pop your cards, your Huragarn or your Minosha, which both those cards, as we saw, this guy gets his the 4-drop out, and the Minosha, if I can find it, I think he's right there. Yeah, okay, this guy. So if it's KO'd, you can just go into your 3-drop, or I guess draw a card, right? It becomes a super combo in a lot of ways. But I think that's really good, and being able to just do that for free, and also it becomes like a super combo for doing so as well. So like you can swing with your Minosha. It's a 15k. Your opponent takes it or whatever. Then you swing with your leader. You use your Hoi, and then you pop your Minosha. So not only do you get a 3-drop, which is a 15k that also can swing in next, but then you have your a plus 10k to your leader swing as well. So just a lot of things that go well together. And I can see that being a really powerful move moving forward. And I think this is one of the best cards to trigger your own Huragarn effects. And definitely run this guy. Hoi's always been good. All the Hoi cards are really, really good. Next up, we've got a multicolor card. That's right, we've got some multicolor cards in draft box. So we're gonna reveal some of the blue-green ones as well. I'm not sure if these are all the green multicolor cards in the set, but these are definitely the ones that I'm showing. But there might be some more to help out the other archetypes. But we've got Vegeta, Villain Turn Protector, Energy Exhaust, obviously, a 2-drop with 16k power, 1 blue, 1 green. Auto, choose one card in your hand, discard it. When this card is played, choose one. So this is a Beerus trigger. Play up to one skillless battle card at any cost of 2 or less from your drop area. So you get what? For 2 cards, you get to play a 16k and a 20k, which is fine. It's kind of like the Krillin, like the one that came out with the skillless cards, but you don't get to get the -5. Or your opponent may choose one card from their hand, discard it. If they don't, switch it to one of your energy to active mode. This is really unique. This is a really cool effect. They either discard a card or you get the energy, and if your opponent has no cards in their hand, which is pretty viable nowadays, there's a lot of ways to do that. You essentially get to play this for 1 energy, which I think is fine. So it's very unique in that way, and definitely if there's more skillless stuff, I have no doubt that skillless just has a bunch more gas right now. I don't know if the yellow Gohan deck that just came out is going to be skillless centered, but I don't think that you'd run this guy because it's green and yellow, or green and blue, which isn't like what he's his colors. But definitely in general, I think there's some multicolor kind of skillless stuff coming up next. And talking about that, we've got Oolong the Cowardly, so a green-yellow energy exhaust, 2-drop, 16k as well. You can choose one card from your hand, discard it. When this card is played, choose one. So similar to the Vegeta, we've got play up to 1 skillless battle card with any cost 2 or less from your drop area, or you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle card with any cost 2 or less, negate its skill for the turn, and then KO it. So I think that's a pretty good effect as well. It doesn't get around barrier, which is fine, but being able to pop something and for 2 energy is fine as well. On a 16k, you also have to drop a card from your hand, but it also is like a Beerus trigger. So I could see this being run in like I could see this card being run in as well, the Reboot Gohan deck, because both I've seen green-yellow and I've seen green-blue variants of these decks, and I think this Vegeta could be really good for it now that I'm thinking about it, because you pay it for 2, and so either your opponent has to discard a card from their hand, or you get 1 more energy to do stuff with. So I think both are fine, especially on a 15k, and you get your Beerus for free out of your hand. So I think there's a lot going on with this guy for that deck. And Oolong, I think, is kind of similar. Not in the same necessarily, but it's able to get rid of blockers. That's immediately what I can see. And I think that's really it for him. But if you're running like a green-yellow like multicolor skillless deck, which you can do with like the new Gohan leader, this could definitely be a good card for that, because you could discard and then play 2, which is just really good energy. Because you can like discard a 2-drop from your hand, and then you play it from your drop area for it. So it's really free to do so. The first effect for both these cards can just pretty much say play 1 from your hand, because you discard it, then you play it. So I think both are good. And those are all the uncommon cards. Let's move to the rare cards. Moving into our rares, we've got this 2-drop, 2 specific green energy, Son Goku, Power to Protect. counterattack, negate the attack, then play this card. If your leader card is green, auto, when this card is played, choose up to one of your opponent's Unison cards and remove a marker from it. So I think this is an okay effect. We're kind of still transitioning to all these Unison Unison interaction cards, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going to be really good in that kind of stuff. We just had set 11 where we had other cards with green like forcibly removed markers, which I think is probably like one of the best ways to interact with them, especially since if a Unison card loses a marker, it loses any buffs it got earlier in the turn. So let's say you gave it like double strike or triple strike early in the turn, then you can just use the Son Goku to get rid of it, and then they can't do their stuff. Or even like if they're trying to pull up their tokens for to use one of their effects, you can just remove it and then they're kind of stumped for it. So I think this card's okay. Choose a little expensive, especially for green. But I think, and I don't know, I'm not sure if 2 energy to remove, I mean, it negates the attack and removes the marker, so that's probably okay on curve. I don't think it's broken, but I think it has some potential, especially since, you know, it's on a Son Goku, and those are like one of the best names in the game, so there could be some potential with that being like a Union Fusion or Union Batara target. But then next up we've got the Harugarn Phantasmic Revival. So this is the 4-drop that the 3-drop was talking about. So auto, when your opponent combos, you may place one card from your opponent's combo area and its owner's drop area. If you do negate the skill for the turn, and then so that's pretty good. We've seen these kind of like combo hate cards before, which is really nice. Yeah, just being able to place one of it has to happen when they combo, so they can't just combo their entire hand and then you just choose a super combo. You have to do it when they combo, so I think that's a little bit more fair and skill intensive in the way where if they do a bunch of 5Ks at first, you might be tempted to do one of their 5Ks and then they do the 10K after you use its effect, or kind of you got to think like, okay, are they going to combo more after each combo? So I really like that idea. And kind of there is interaction with it, and unlike just you can choose at the end of the when it's your turn for comboing. But also has an auto. If you have 3 or more energy when this card is removed from your battle area by opponent's skill or KO'd, play one Harugarn card with any cost of 6 from your deck or hand, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. If you didn't play a battle card, your opponent chooses one card in their hand, discards it. So I think this is also a super cool effect. And especially like this little extra part where if you didn't play a battle card, your opponent chooses one card and discards it. So you can really, it's this effect that's really flexible in what you're doing in a lot of ways. And so yeah, spoilers, we got a 6-drop Harugarn coming up as well. But I really like this guy, and I think it's a good, kind of going to the next one, especially since it's a big 20k, so you can swing with it and you can KO it with cards we've already kind of talked about, and really go into your 6-drop after that. So after that, we've got this Brave Sword. So it's an extra card for 1 green. Choose one. It has 3. I think all 3 of these effects are really good. So if your leader card's green, choose up to one of your opponent's Unison cards and remove a marker from it. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards at any cost of 4 or less and KO it. Or you may choose one of your green Harugarn cards, KO it if you do draw 1 card. So I think in a Harugarn deck, this is a good like 2 or 3 of. Otherwise, I think this is a good just sideboard card for green, if not main board. Just being able to have Unison card hate and battle card hate on one card already, I think is good. And being able to just have ways to KO your Harugarn while also getting to cycle for free for it, I think is really good as well. So it just has a lot of good things going for it. Maybe it's too slow, but it's just 1 green energy, so it just does so much for you. So I think this is a good card, and will definitely help the Harugarn deck. But maybe we'll even see mainstream success in just kind of other green decks as well. And then we've also have this new, I guess I did it in the wrong order, but we've got this super cool Tapion. I think this is one of the best cards I get to review. So it's any exhaust blocker. It's a 2-drop Tapion, Fate of a Hero. Active main for either 1 blue or 1 green. I'm not sure if we've had this effect for this game, but it's super cool that you get to choose one or the other. I think we've had it like last set, but this is just kind of newer. But if your leader card is green or a Phantom Demon and you discard this card from your hand, you get to choose one. You can draw 1 card, then play this card from your drop area at the end of the turn, which is crazy good. It just means like it's for free, a 15k blocker that replaces itself, which is really, really good. Or you can activate 1 sealed music box from your deck, then shuffle your deck. So like it's the same kind of thing where music box is really good. You look at top 7, and then the next turn you can pay 1 green to like play one of those cards. So both these effects are really good. But I think the first effect will be good outside of the Tapion, the Harugarn deck in general. You do have to have green, so you can't play, Star Deck Vegeta. Star Deck Vegeta, I would have loved this card. But the Dredge Goku, I think this has a good potential for that card. Just because it's a blocker, and so if your opponent has to KO this guy or something, like you can direct your attacks to this, and if they KO it, you can awaken it kind of early, and it's just free cycle and everything. It's just a really good card in my opinion, and it just has so much going for it. I mean, a 15k blocker you can play turn 1 just means you can protect your leader from most things as well. So I think it's good, and you get to draw a card with it too. I don't know. I could talk about how good this card is for too long, but I like it. And just the fact that it's Tapion as well, which could help like the original blue chain. All this stuff's good. You should play this card for sure. And then lastly, our last rare, we've got Angela the Invader. That's right, we've got Slug stuff for this as well. So Energy Exhaust critical successor for just 1 yellow, and the active main once per turn for Bond 2, and it's just Bond 2, it's not Bond 2 Slug's Army. You can choose one of your opponent's battle cards and negate skills until the start of your next turn. So this is really good. Immediately what I thought about, which should not be a surprise, is Cell Surge. So, you know, the kind of like the original combo is that you have the 1-drop Android 17, which you can pay 1 green to play for your drop area. So you do that turn 1, and then turn 2, you charge a yellow, and then what you're able to do is that you can play the Cell card that I broke. You can play that for your drop area for 1 energy. So you bring him out, he's a 3-drop, your Android becomes a 3-drop as well. You make your opponent discard 1 card. You swing with like maybe the Cell, maybe, and then you can play Angela for 1 successor on top of it for 1 yellow. So you get a 15k crit coming out. And then you already have Bond 2 because you have Angela and the Android. And then also the Cell will trigger, which means you can play an Android 18 3 or less from your drop area for free as well. So all that's really good stuff. It's a really good 1, 2, 3, you know. And it's critical too. It's 15k crit, so that, you know, applies pressure to your opponent. And then if they get rid of this card, you can just play your Cell next turn for free. So I think like all this stuff is good, and it's really good. And then, you know, obviously this is for Slug stuff as well. I don't play that deck as much, but I do know they love to swarm the field, especially the Agent of Destruction Slug. You can play it for 1 energy. And then you can play this Angela and then, you know, play it on top of it. So there's definitely stuff you can do for it. Slug's normally mono green, so they'd have to kind of adjust with that to make it yellow green. But I think this is definitely a card that's worth kind of trying to fit into that kind of archetype and everything. So that's all the. Oh wait, we've got one more. Yeah, okay, that's all the rares. Let's move on to the super rares. To start off our green super rares, we've got a 5-drop, 3 specific green, Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku Fist of Fortitude. Being a 5-drop green Goku is important because there's some interactions with some of the other 5-drop green Gokus that exist, but it has triple strike, barrier, a big 30k body, and has an active main of if your leader card is green and you choose 1 card in your hand, discard it, choose one of your opponent's battle cards ignoring barrier and KO it, and then choose one of your opponent's Unison cards and remove 2 markers from it. And this is not a once per turn active main too, so as long as you have cards to discard from your hand, you can kind of just blow up your opponent's board and kind of get rid of their Unison card as well. So I think that's a really good effect for him. He also has this bonus effect of active main for 1 green. If your leader card is green and you discard this card from your hand, choose one of your opponent's Unison cards and remove a marker from it. I think this is also pretty flexible for it. So if you don't think that you're going to get to late game and 5 energy with this guy, you can at least have this potential interaction of removing markers from your opponent's Unison card. And like, there's definitely like ways, like if your opponent has 2 counters on their Unison cards, you want to remove one of them so they can't use their counterplays anymore. I think this is a good way to snipe that from it. We have our extra cards that we saw earlier that kind of do a similar thing. But I think just the flexibility of this guy saying, if you're playing against a deck that isn't going to go late game, you can at least, either charge him or you're able to just use 1 green to get, some interaction off your opponent. So I think that's fine for this guy. And 5 is, I think, asking for a bit. I know that's not, like, turn 5 is usually how you end the game. I think this guy can definitely end the game, but I don't think it's super broken. Next up, we've got a 5-drop Son Gohan Hidden Might. I really do like this card. I think this card is really neat. It has Deflect, Unique, Double Strike, and it has 25k. Permanent, when your life is 3 or less, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 3. So if you're, which just makes the 2-drop. The 2-drop 25k Double Strike, which is great with Deflect as well. And then auto, if your lead card is green, when this card is played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier and KO it, or choose up to one of your opponent's Unison cards and remove a marker from it. Both these effects are really good for 2 energy. Obviously, you have to get down to 3 life or less, but I think that's fine. I think that's an okay cost for this guy, because what he does is he just has a lot of stats and a lot of kind of disruption just on his 2 energy form. So I definitely think this is a good card that you just run like 1 or 2 of, like a good side deck card. But if we have kind of like this more kind of mid-range or aggro green deck coming up, this is a fantastic card for it. It's good for closing out games and kind of making your opponent react to it, which is really good for only 2 energy. So I like this card a lot, and we'll move next to boom, I think one of my favorite cards from this set. Great Saiyaman 2 Budding Hero. This card's great for anyone who's playing skillless. So it's a 3-drop with 15k, and it has this effect of when this card is played from your hand, play up to one skillless battle card with any cost 2 or less from your deck or drop area, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So like for 3 energy, that's not super crazy because you get a 15k and a 20k. However, it has an active main for just 1 green where you choose one of your skillless battle cards, any cost 2 or less, return it to its owner's hand, play this card from your hand, and you can't play copies of this card for the turn. So being able to just say, all right, turn 2, we play one of, let me see if I can find it, one of these guys. Yeah, like this Oolong, right? So you play this Oolong, you play this, you're able to discard a card, you play a 2-drop, right? Swing with both, and then for one more green energy, you can replace the 2-drop, bounce it back to your hand, and then you're able to go from there into the Saiyaman 2 and another skillless card. Like, it just has a lot of great stuff going for it. Just like a really good like mid-range aggro variant of kind of like these skillless cards. So I really like it. I think it has a lot of potential. And once again, just being able to, even if you just have a 20k out, it pretty much untaps it, right? You get a 15k body and you untap your 20k, which means you get another swing with it because you play another 20k from your deck. So I think it has a lot of good stuff going for it. And definitely if you have any kind of variant of a green skillless deck, this is definitely a card you should put in it. And it's not restricted to any green leader. It doesn't matter the leader. It just needs that one specific green energy. Next up, we've got Hurrigarn. Oh, okay, we're getting into the really spicy cards for this. So it's a big 6k with 25k, or 6-drop with 25k. Crit, EX Evolve, Hurrigarn with any cost of 4. So if you're not playing it with the EX Evolve, but if you're not playing it with the chain, you can just EX Evolve this for free on top of the 4-drop. So if your opponent doesn't want to get rid of your Hurrigarn or you don't have the resources for it, you can just play it for free from your hand if you end up drawing it. And then when this card is removed from your battle area by opponent's go or KO'd, you can play one Hurrigarn card with any cost of 4 or 9 from your deck or hand. Shuffle your deck if you look through it, and you can't play copies of this card for the turn. And if you didn't play a battle card, choose 2 cards from in your opponent's hand and discard them. So that's really good, all right? Like even if you just want to get rid of this guy, you can make your opponent drop 2. And how could you get rid of this guy? Well, let's look at this active battle a little bit lower. It has KO this card, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards and KO them. That's absurd on an active battle. So not only like if this card gets removed in general, your opponent will have to face either a 4-drop or a 9-drop. So it kind of has like better protection of, it doesn't have protection per se, but if your opponent gets rid of it, you get a bigger threat that comes out of it. And then if they don't do anything, you still get a lot of presence. So like they can swing with like a battle card that doesn't have barrier. You can just KO this card in your opponent's step, and then you get like maybe a 9-drop, which maybe would look like this guy. Like super duper good. We'll talk about it in one sec. But even if you don't bring up the 9-drop, you can just make your opponent discard 2 cards. So this guy by himself, he's a 25k crit, so you swing with crit, which is already really good. And then you can pop 2 cards from your opponent's board with this active battle, and then you can also pop 2 cards from their hand. All right, so that's like 4 cards that you get rid of for free, right? That's super duper good. And then if you go into the 9-drop, you've got this big boy, Energy Exhaust, Unique Blocker, and Revive, which is really, really good. So active main for 1 green, if your leader card is green or a Phantom Demon, and you choose one of your Hurrigarn cards with an energy cost of 4, 6, or 7 in your battle area and KO it, you can play this card from your drop area, and you can't activate this active main skill on copies for the turn. You can get this card out like turn 1, I think, because you can use the 7-drop Hurrigarn from the power boosters, that kind of stuff. So you can just play that card for free, and then you can just pop this guy from your drop area. So that's already really, really good. And then on top of having Revive, and then it's for just 1 green, you get this big boy out. And then auto, if your leader card's green or Phantom Demon, when this card activates a blocker skill, choose 1 card in your opponent's hand, discard it. So you get to choose the card and discard it. And already the active main works out really well with the 6-drop Hurrigarn, because you can just use this when this card's removed from your battle area by a skill or KO'd, because this does KO it doesn't EX Evolve. So you can KO it and then not have anything come out, or you can have like the 4-drop come out, or you can have nothing come out and just straight rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, and then have this big old blocker that has Revive and everything else with it. So I think this is a huge presence. Makes your opponent like not want to do anything. This is the card that if your opponent gets rid of this card, unfortunately, nothing happens for it, but it's so easy to get back out. For just 1 green, you just KO one of your other Hurrigarn cards, so it just comes back, and then it has Revive too, so it's already good. So this also, its auto blocker skill is not once per turn. So if they swing, if they swing with something, you Hurrigarn block it, they KO it, you can revive it, bring it back, and then you can block again, and then you rip another card from their hand. Killing a 30k is kind of tricky, so I don't expect that to happen a lot. But if you use your Koi on the defense step, you can you use blocker, pop it, and then you can just end the battle. And you just bring it back by discarding a blue-green. So I think there's a lot of recursion with that as well, and this is definitely a menace to look out for. And then lastly, we've got this Lord Slug Youth Regained Energy Exhaust Double Strike Successor for only 1 green, which is absurd. And if this card would be removed from your battle area, it is sent to its owner's warp instead. I'm not sure why they have this effect. Maybe it's because I don't know. I'm not sure why you would. Maybe this gets around if you can just chain successor him. I think you have to send the cards to your drop area. I think that's how that is. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this just prevents you from using successor on top of it. But it has bond 3. If your leader card's green, when this card attacks, choose 1. Choose up to one of your one card in your opponent's hand, discard it, or you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it. So I think for 1 green energy, right? This is really, really good. And if we're talking about what I'm really familiar with the Android 17 and Cell, so turn 2, you have the Android 17 out, you play for 1 green, you play your you play your Cell, you make them discard a card, then you're able for 1 more green, play this guy, big 25k double strike, you use the Cell effect to get the Android 18 from your drop area, so you have 2 cards, and so you just have to play 1 more card, and then, which you can do if you Awaken. And then you're able to just immediately start having a 25k double strike that rips cards out of your opponent's hand. So I think all those cards are good. I also don't know if this card. I don't think this interacts well with the the 9-drop Cell Xeno. I don't think you can just, since it gets sent to the warp. If this is the only card you send from your from your battle area, I don't think you can play the Cell Xeno. Check me on that one as well. But in general, I think this is a cool card, and this is even without thinking about the Lord Slug archetype as well. And Lord Slug's really good at just getting a lot of bodies on the board. So having 6 energy and only a successor for 1, I think is really, really feasible for the deck too. Especially if you've already swung with 2 3-drops, then you can just play this for 1 green, and you didn't really lose out on anything either. So that's all the cards I have for today. I'm really, really excited for them. I think there's a lot of cool stuff. I love the Hurrigarn stuff especially. I like Hand Destruction. I like Hurrigarn as well. As you guys can remember the blue-yellow version that I ran about a year ago. So being able to do blue-green, which I love blue-green as well. I think there's just some stuff for Revive, which I've done some Revive stuff before. And I have to even just remind myself of some good green leaders for this. I think there's some that really help out your stuff being KO'd and everything. So there's just a lot of cool stuff coming out for this, and I really, really can't wait to check it out. So thanks again for everyone supporting me, letting me get to this point where I can review these cards, and I really don't have anything else to say. Let me know what deck you guys want to see first. I'm definitely going to be making decks with these green cards, so let me know in the comments what you guys want to see from these. And once again, thank you for Bandai for reaching out and giving me this opportunity. So once again, thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you all next time.